A new federal order is sparking a new question. Could Central Texas transportation projects like our voter-approved light rail be derailed? Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Sanders.
I'm Daniel Muddy, and KXAN's Grace Reeder looked to answer that question for us today.
As a new federal administration makes rapid changes, local leaders say they're consistently working to respond.
Have a close eye on what's happening at the federal government and at the state level.
One federal order handed down from the Department of Transportation last week has the potential to, at the very least, put federal funding for Central Texas transportation projects in question. The order changes up who and how the DOT will give out funding. Why does it matter? Well, the DOT has previously given Austin tens of millions of dollars for things like pedestrian safety, city lighting, and intersection improvements. Getting passenger rail between major metros in Texas is dependent on federal funds, and the city is banking on federal money to help with its planned light rail line. The Austin Transit Partnership, which oversees the light rail, says it's business as usual right now, saying they're still advancing the project through a competitive federal grant program, adding, quote, "They will keep us appraised of any changes to the official grant program guidance resulting from the new administration's orders." So what's in this order? Many of the new policies are tied to shifting funding to better align with the vision of the federal government. Some elements, though, aren't tied to transportation at all. Cities will not get DOT funding if they are, quote, imposing vaccine and mask mandates, or if they don't comply with federal immigration enforcement according to the order. That last requirement is something Austin leaders say is not within their jurisdiction.
Our local police officers are not responsible for federal civil immigration.
There's still a process that needs to play out here to determine what's allowed. The order does say, quote, to the maximum permitted by the law. That extent is yet to be made fully clear.
Stakeholders could argue that the way that they've chosen to prioritize federal funding goes beyond the statute or has a disparate impact to populations across the country, and that, of course, would have to be settled in court.
Grace Reeder, KXAN News.
And we also reached out to the Texas Department of Transportation to see if they anticipate any impacts at the state level. They said, quote, TxDOT will continue to utilize federal funding for projects across the state as we await further guidance. Going in depth, billions of dollars earmarked for Texas roads come from the federal government. TxDOT's biennial budget for 2024 to 2025 had about $37 billion in appropriations. Almost $13 billion of that, around 35%, came from federal funding. That was the largest contribution to the budget. The second largest was from the state highway funds, state revenue at over $8 billion.